Hello, everybody. Really excited to have Kenny with us today. We are talking to each other from I'm in Spokane, Washington, and he's in Wales, and really such an honor to have him. He had so much to our conference. He's going to tell you more about himself. He's a therapist coach. He does all sorts of incredible things and really understands men and what males need. So I'm going to turn it over to Kenny and say, I want to get you, I'm going to say your name and you tell me if I blow it. Mammarella-D'Cruz.
Brilliant.
Close?
Wow. Every syllable was pronounced perfectly. Good on you. But I'll
Ah,
tell you what's not true, just to be clear. I'm not a therapist. I work with a lot of therapists. I train therapists to speak with men, to hold men's groups, to be with male stuff like that. And I train coaches and I train all sorts of people who want to know how to listen so men speak. And also, I guess, in a way, speak so men listen. But no, I am not a trained or qualified therapist or coach. There's a newspaper here, what's it called? The Daily Express called me coach, consultant, and guru of all things men, which was very, very kind.
that's what I saw, but okay. Well, how would you describe yourself then?
I would call myself a personal and professional development consultant,
Got it.
and most of my clients are male. I'm male. And I feel that what I can really bring to the party is I was a stuffed up male. I had mental health issues from obsessive compulsive disorder, body dysmorphia, Tourette's, trichomania, pulling my hair, picking my skin, dyscalculia, where I couldn't really do the linear thinking with numbers or structure, computers, things like that. So I've had a lot of PTSD issues. It could be said it's because I was a refugee, and I remember when I was 7, my father said to me, "You're the head of the family now. Take care of your mother and brother." And that's just before we fled Uganda. We were on the death list of the Secret Service, and we were leaving him behind. So that was a bit of a burden. But to be frank, before then, it started anyway because one of those, or I was one of those enmeshed boys who was responsible for the emotions of my mother, my godmother, women generally, and so it carried on through my teens, 20s, probably some of my 30s even. And it was just normal for me. It was the way that I was programmed. It was what I knew to do. And in my mind, I kind of thought, well, once they're okay, then surely it'll be my turn. And then they'll take care of me. What I didn't realize is the neglected, as my parents were, and as the women in my family kind of were in a way, loved the attention. And who could blame them? So I needed to turn things around in my own life to be my own man rather than to be a little boy pretending to be a man, fixing, saving, and hoping for the best. So, yeah, since then, I accidentally started running men's groups 25 years ago, mixed groups 28 years ago, and getting into this work because I needed the tools to unlearn all of my mental health issues. And now I have the tools and the ability to meet people where they are, especially males, because we're wired different, we have different hormones. And for me, it's in meeting men there that things can shift. It's not so much talking about it. So I've been holding men's groups every day since lockdown with a lot of people who I've facilitated. And in a moment of a man showing up with something and being met in that moment, in that emotion, energetically, emotionally in that place, can let that thing, that um, depressed pause button in life, in the psyche, can let it be met, let it be seen, and let it go. And it's almost like once things are not just named rather than shamed or blamed. And I would say so many men fear shame and blame. More than anything, I'd say men fear being abandoned and being humiliated. But once it's named and once we can sit in that space, if only for a minute, this is like venturing into the dark shadow safely, then I would say it opens up the gold shadow of who this person is, what who this man might be, without the restriction, without the groundhog day of survival, and without that weight of the pause button being depressed, not allowing life to move on. So, what men need? Well, I would say off the top of my head, men need to feel safe. Men need to be free. Men need other men to hang out with, to be heard, and to get real with what's going on in life, and to learn from one another. And tell me if you want to butt in or if I'm off on one. Um,
Oh
what
yeah.
I would, cool. What I would say, I feel the difference between a boy and a man is that a boy is all about making a noise, um, where a man includes the feminine and can listen. A boy is a lot of movement and energy that doesn't know very often where to put itself, where a man can be still and a man can choose to take action. A boy generally comes from fear and needs to be safe within the pecking order, where a man can come from love, which is again a feminine aspect, and be able to respond rather than react and actually be with people. And I know that the boy in me, my two main addictions were second guessing so I could survive, fear, fantasize, and fix the future. And it did me good when I was a boy because I did survive. As a man, it cost me my life. And I would say most, if not all men I know didn't feel safe in their childhoods for whatever reason. And that's not bad. It's normal. It's fact. And it might be for dramatic reasons like mine, or it might be for more mainstream reasons like a death, alcoholic parents, or even something like being forgotten about at school and being left for a while before someone remembers to pick them up. It could be anything. It's not a matter of which is the biggest drama. It's a matter of how did this affect that pure spirited, innocent child? And I guess this would bring me to the main work that I do, and it's very trendy these days. It's very mainstream. What do they call it? Parts work, internal family systems. I studied voice dialogue many years ago through someone who studied with Doctors Hal and Sidra Stone. And it's literally, whether it's on Zoom or in a room, asking a person to shift chair so I can speak to a different part of them, and then back, and then a different part, and then back, and so it goes on. What I have found in my own life and in most lives that I've worked with is that my protector, who showed up to protect me, to for my survival, my protector showed up when there was trauma, when there was pain. And it literally showed up. He showed up and said, right, now I'm going to meet the world and I'm going to keep you safe. And your spirit, your pure, innocent spirit, can go into hiding because it's not an option that that part of you is tampered by anyone or anything. So it's almost as if who I really am, that goes back there. And my protector for many years ran the show. And thank God for him, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have survived. And he's the part that I would say could sniff danger, virtually psychic at times, could sniff, would know when the temperatures changed and when trouble's brewing, would react rather than respond, would know how to be invisible, or how to stop a fight before it happened. And it was all about surviving, and it was all in the head, and it was all fear based. And that's my protector who totally owned and ran my life and made sure that I was safe. And then growing into my own man, it's like, as I said earlier, if it's going to cost my life, then something's going to have to change here. And then I got to realize that there's another part of me in there. There is a man inside of me who never got a look in. And I would say, with so many males in my family, in my life, it's kind of likely that the men didn't quite get a look in the families anyway. And I would say there are many, many families that I've worked with where it ends up that the woman's family, that might be the family that lives next, very close and can take care of the kids, etc. It's almost like the female's family and the female's family rules will raise the child, and the man, in a way, is maybe pushed aside. And it may not be true these days, but go back a generation or two, and that's the way it generally happened, which isn't wrong or bad. It's just the way that it was. And I would say that it was certainly the case with my family, and in my family, and in my own psyche, and with most men I know, if there is an issue with a woman being potentially angry or sad or something's up, then it's like the hardiest man at the drop of a hat could suddenly turn into a scared little boy who would want to fix it and make it okay, not just for her, but also so he knows he's safe. So, with that, I really needed to learn rather than coming from am I, giving my power away to any Tom, Dick, and Harriet, rather than it's am I safe? Am I appropriate? Am I in trouble? Am I causing pain? Blah, blah, blah. That's all power going out, and I will be whoever you need me to be. I needed to shift it and learn to come from I am, to be my own person right here and right now, only in this moment. This has nothing to do with the future and nothing to do with the past. It's literally claiming the moment. And in this moment, I can breathe myself present. I can breathe my child safe inside of me. And rather than my protector running my life, I can listen to my protector, take information, maybe even advice sometime, but I choose how I will respond into the world. What I didn't realize would happen is not only can I be present, and it's the job of the man in me to not just be present, but to have boundaries where I can intimately meet everyone. And once we've met, then things can shift and change. But not only can I be present and hear my protector and actually be with people rather than being in my head and surviving the people, but I, with that safe, free spirited child inside of me back here rather than in hiding somewhere there, I could listen to intuition or love or adventure or nature or spirit or God or whatever it is you want to call it. And that's when I really landed as my own man. And it's in doing this, and this is exactly what I do with clients, is I get them to meet the different parts that might be running their life and enable them to navigate on the inside. So the inside, a good, calm, present, grounded, open-hearted, quiet-minded inside can reflect on the outside and manifest a bigger, better life. Where in the past, my Groundhog Hog Day recreated whatever I need to survive, however, my protector needed to prove to me that he'd better be in control because otherwise bad things would happen. And I needed to break the back of that one, take my place, and learn to grow into my life. Am I making sense so far?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. You have a great perspective. Yeah. Yeah. Keep going. I'm just fascinated. Yeah.
And one of the things that I feared, especially with the body dysmorphia and the obsessive compulsive, it was causing harm to other people and being contaminated. So with that, it's and I guess I could throw in that after refugee camp, we moved to a small town in Wales where everyone else was white, so I was the only person of color. And I remember the primary school was wonderful, Catholic school, everyone was nice and everything was lovely. The nuns were a bit weird at times, but hey, that's cool. And I was a good altar boy. Secondary school, oh my God, it was just like all the ruffians are in town. And I remember the first day in the changing room, and I had my first, possibly only racist attack. Well, that was a shock to the system. So, yeah, I feared boys and men. I wonder how many people fear boys and men and the bigness and the loudness and the unruliness and the things that the women said about them, too. Because as I say, I was enmeshed by my mother, and it was like we were codependent and surviving, especially leaving my father in Africa and thinking he was going to be killed. It's like we needed to somehow survive, take care of my brother, take care of the family, and survive. So, of course, we got enmeshed. And of course, I believed everything that she said. And so did she. None of the people in my life, I believe, actually meant any harm. And I guess the line I made up for myself, I mean, initially I just thought, how dare my parents even think of having me without being enlightened? How rude, how thoughtless. And then I thought, wait a minute, they couldn't share what they didn't have. What's the point in blaming them? If you haven't got it, you can't share it. And then I thought, well, considering the hardship that I've had and considering the tools I now have, because I had to kind of like, I was a basket case and I needed to unravel the basket, climb out, rewire myself, or set the wiring free. I've got the tools to pass this on, and I am living a dream life, considering um, considering the life that I had. I've got nothing but gratitude for the. Am I allowed to swear here? For for the fuck uppery. I was just so fucked up. It was outrageous. But what an opportunity to unfuck myself up, pick up the tools, and live a good life. So, yeah, then I realized that men and boys, well, they're kind of like me in a lot of ways. And I need and love the company of the blokes in my life. And I feel so incredibly blessed that I've got so many good blokes. And it grows. I mean, one of the things that I love to do, as I say, now that I'm 61, since turning 60, is like, I want to share my tools. It's time to pass everything on, absolutely everything, and enable people to hold their own groups. I do supervision with people that I've trained and with other people, therapists and coaches and stuff like that. It's all about sharing my tools and growing better men, including myself. So, what men need? Well, good company is one thing. And I would say if we're all going to be products of our environments, inner and outer, then surely it's our responsibility to create a good environment to be a product of. Kind of simple as that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I really start and I get on a roll and I think, was that a bit intense? How am I doing so far, Michael?
Yeah, no, it's great. I just love your perspective. What are some of the tools you said you're passing tools on? Or can they be discussed? Are there
Well, I
specific
would,
strategies or, you know?
yeah, yeah. Let me try and feel into that. I'll whip up three from the top of my head. Um, I would say one of them for sure is something that we learned to do during lockdown. So I think I told you that on the day that we went on lockdown, I started holding. Well, I'll tell you a quick story actually about how it all happened. So 5 days before going on lockdown, I was at a friend's. My friend's wife was starring in a West End musical in London. So went to see it. She was absolutely brilliant. Couldn't have asked for more. My friend actually filmed all the videos for the online part of the training. On the way back, I got a message from the guy that makes my YouTubes saying, "Well, I've got the symptoms. Might be an idea if you isolate." So that was the last time I was out for a while. And as I moved into Zoom land, both feet and every part of my being, I noticed that I kept looking out of the window. And then I realized I expected to see the military because in Africa we had curfew. And then I kept listening into the silence, expecting to hear gunfire. And it's like, whoa, that didn't take long. I've kind of flashed back into my childhood and into a very fearful part of my childhood. And it was quite a revelation. And I'm chuffed. Chuffed is an English thing. I'm very happy that I realised what was going on because I could have just snapped at my wife or been angry or been upset or got into drinking or not that I'm much of a drinker, but anything to numb the pain. Um, but yeah, I realised what was going on. Then we went into lockdown, and I kind of thought, uh-oh, shit's gonna hit the fan. There are a lot of guys who I know who went to boarding school. There are a lot of people I know who, for whatever reason, have felt locked or trapped or whatever it is, and this might get ugly. So that's the day we started daily online groups that we run to this day. And during those groups, the number of men that came in who were really quite messy, very messy with whatever's happening at home, but as I suspected, with stuff coming up. So the first thing that the online groups are a ground rules and all of that, and people are asked before we start the group whether they have anything they need to ask or change with the ground rules. So everyone takes ownership of the ground rules, and we're in it together. It's non-hierarchical. So we have the ground rules, and then we have 2 minutes silence. I ring my bell. Everyone has a little bell somewhere near them, so we can just get here, present and connected here and now. And then we have three very basic questions: your name. So people can even, everyone knows their names on Zoom these days, but it's like stating their name and taking their space. And then it's how you feel right now. So it's into the feelings and right here and now in this moment, which are two very difficult things for a lot of people. But we can, gently do it, normalize it, and people can slip into it very, very easily. And the third one is what's up? What's going on that you want to talk about, whether it's actually going on inside of your head or in your life or whatever it is. And the facilitators' main jobs is to make sure that everyone's safe and people stay in the here and now and in the emotion and to meet whatever people were bringing to the party was fundamentally important. But what we realized is this could be a distraction where this is actually a huge opportunity. It's like, yeah, there's stuff going on and it's accepted and it's respected and it's met. And here's the first tool that all of the facilitators use, and it's so simple: breathe into the feeling and feel the feeling. Just feel it because in the group together, no one's going to upstage, no one's going to laugh, no one's going to fix, no one's going to do any of that nonsense. It's like we're here together. And for those who are safe enough, you just breathe into it and feel the feeling. And then it's follow the feeling back. And literally 99.9% of the time, in a breath, people are taken exactly to the time and the place that's being triggered. And then to go back to what we talked about earlier, the man in them can hold their child safe so they can travel back there and feel it and heal it and live beyond it. And it might happen in a moment. It might happen in a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few years. It really doesn't matter. It happened so quickly for so many men, and they could really get what's been running their life. And of course, it's layers and layers and layers. My old addiction of thinking and second guessing, it's like, well, I have a new addiction now, which is so much more fun. And that's Columbo. It's looking for trouble. So, and it's not really like, what's the next trouble? It's more looking for clues rather than looking for trouble. Excuse me. And as life keeps getting better, I know that I'll hit something. And whatever this thing is that comes up, it's like, okay, so this is as far as I can go. Until this thing, I can follow the feeling back into my dark shadow, meet myself, and through the nature and magic of alchemy, turn the dark shadow into the gold shadow of awareness and availability to life and growing into what might be. So it's quite simply following the feeling back to know what's really going on. And it takes safety, it takes awareness. And so many men can do it on their own and can do so much on their own. And that's great. Some men just need to be safe, being seen, coming into the groups once a week, once a day, whenever it is they need to, just to be safe and to be able to do something. Another thing that blew me away that I knew very little about during lockdown was hormones. Um, Not just the menstrual cycle, but then we headed into perimenopause. And it's like my wife, who's 12 years younger than me, she wasn't perimenopausal then, but it soon showed up. And, you know, so many people want to uh, date the hottie or whatever it is and get into the relationship because there's this wonderful thing and that romantic thing. And, you know, it's just so wonderful rather than thinking, you know, who is this person that I'm going to be doing my life's journey with? Where we're going to be going through hardship, we're going to go through grief, illness, death, etc., etc. Who can I trust to bring my children up? Who can I communicate with? Who can I really be with? Who can I be a little boy and scared so she can take care of me as the mother? Who can be a little girl and in pain so I can show up and be the father? Who can be an adult with me so we can really meet the world as adults, courageously and open heartedly able to communicate and walk this journey side by side? And who can I really play with and have fun and be creative and laugh with? And I would say having all four of those, not 3 out of 4, 4 out of 4, and growing into that is where it's at. We didn't know as men what it was like to be literally locked up with a woman going through perimenopause or going through hormonal stuff, especially with everything. It could be the children, the work, and God knows what else was going on. The fears, it was difficult. So this is a really important time where people really learn how to, rather than I will fix the woman so my little boy is safe, or I will give her whatever it is I think she wants so she will take care of me. It's like I need to be present with myself. I need to be present with everyone in my household. And I need to be as solid as a rock consistently so we can go through this, which means I need to take care of my needs and my fears and my inner child and my children in the war zone. so many people went through the war zone. So it's back to taking care of the child. But now we've got another part of the journey that so many men did not figure. And this is being locked up while the hormones run wild. Um, it's just so powerful in my life. I work with a lot of very powerful men, business leaders, and people who are smart, clever, powerful, and create things, whatever. Um, Most of them crumble with the wrong look, or a few words of criticism, or a slight withdrawal, especially from a woman. It is that powerful. I think a tragedy in raising boys is the way that boys have been controlled by shame, by abandonment, by humiliation. And also, these days it's by putting them in front of screens and tampering with their wiring. But the shame, the guilt, the abandonment, that can last an absolute lifetime. So I was really sitting with a lot of very scared boys who needed to turn into their own men on the job in the war zone very, very quickly. So, what do men need? Well, men need other men. So, we're in it together and we can learn from each other's experiences, each other's successes, but I'd say most importantly of all, each other's failures. And I've seen it so often, whether it's in business or with dating or traveling, the glamour, oh, social media, the glamorous stories come out. Oh, I'm such a hero and I saved the day and blah, blah, blah. But, for me, the stories of when I have fallen flat on my ass and when other people have fallen flat on their asses, this is where I learn. This is where I learn about myself, where to go and where not to go. There's that old story about the hole, and the bloke keeps falling down the hole, and then he learns to stop falling down the hole, and he goes around the hole. Well, there's another happy ending to this story for me, and that's telling the other people there's a hole there. This is how you go around it. Or maybe even putting a sign there. But, it's that part, standing on the shoulders of giants. So, yeah, men need, I would say, self awareness, good community, and an open enough heart to tell the truth and explore and navigate life together. And I guess with the next part of this, what is a man? Well, these days it seems that anyone who says I identify as a man is a man. And I'd say that is everyone's right and can be respected. For me, a man is someone who is authentic. It's not doing man, it's being man. It's not showing off, it's showing up. It's not really having anything to prove, but it's living with, it's like following my heart and living my truth rather than what's going to score me the brownie points, what's going to elevate my status. These days on social media, it's all the rage to be an expert in anything after a weekend workshop, fiddle with the algorithms, and then show yourself sitting around, in some sort of a tropical scene, doing very little work, earning six figures, and so the story goes. To me, not sure that's being a man at all. What is a man? Well, the way that I learned to be my own man was unlearning who I no longer needed to be. Because otherwise, I would come up with some sort of an act, probably a cheap, lame act to please other people that I would have them buy, and then I'd have to buy it as well. And it's like, well, this is my latest version of man. Don't be rude and reject it because we're all polite and on the same side here, oh, aren't we? Um, and I remember being on a 31 bus going through Camden Town in London, and I was probably in my 20s. And there was a little boy on the bus who said to his mother, "That man." And then the boy pointed to me, and it's like, oh my God, they're talking about me because inside I was still that little boy pretending to be a man. So it's like for a boy, and boys are sharp. Boys know a fraud at 20 paces. Boys have the most vicious sense of humor, the most vicious judgments, and generally it's so accurate. For a boy to point me out and say that, man, it's like, oh, okay. I need to deal with this man stuff. I need to be my own man because when he said it, I didn't buy it, and it's like, what am I expect? What's my next trick to live up to this label? So for me, a man is a person with male hormones and testosterone, with power, being able to step in power and enable other people to be in power. A man knows when to score and when to pass the ball. A man knows how to communicate from the heart with unconditional love rather than the manipulation, the passive aggression, the sales pitches, etc., etc. A man knows when he's absolutely crap at something rather than glossing over, and when he's actually good at something and to be able to share the goodness and ask for help when help is needed. A man is present and connected and can hold the child safe and can meet other people at boundaries and communicate from truth, including anger. And I would say it's the feminine, maybe not female. You know, there's male and female, there's masculine and feminine. A man doesn't necessarily have to be overly masculine. That's a type of man. But I would say it's the feminine aspect that brings emotional regulation. And I would say it's the masculine aspect that brings the yang energy, whether it's anger or power or rage or physical stuff that can regulate that. Because if that's not held and regulated, then it can get out of control and it can go bonkers and need to overpower and bully and do all sorts of things to prove masculinity because that masculine regulation didn't take place early on. I think you've got Warren Farrell on at some stage, haven't you? Such an excellent bloke with such a lovely wife. I remember meeting them in London, and he knows all about this. So I'm not even going to go into that side of things. But yeah, for me, a man is an authentic being with bollocks, mind, body, spirit, and balls.
Like it. Some courage. Yeah, that's beautiful. I
And
love
you
all the
know,
cuss words. I love the cuss words. I assume that YouTube or whatever will accept them. I think it's
yeah.
great because that's how, it's how we talk. You're with the men's groups. I just think that's so important that people understand that there's a kind of a zeitgeist of if men get together, it's going to turn out bad for women, right? That's a sort of
And you
second
know
wave
what?
feminist point
That
of view.
and it's very true in a lot of circles. It's
Yeah,
not
it can be,
false.
but it men getting together is actually essential for male development.
Do you know, you're dead right there. Men getting together, that's not true. Boy behavior, unaware men, unruly men, men who have not sorted their shit out, then it might be dangerous. Um, that doesn't make them bad. That makes them full of potential and probably in need to be seen and heard and held by good men. And there is so much of that about these days. There is such opportunity. And I would say the whole thing with toxic masculinity, and everyone talks about Andrew Tate. Thankfully, he's not in my algorithms. I've kept my algorithms clean. Um, well, a lot of people are looking to the internet in days we turn to each other. Now everyone seems to turn to the internet, which can be very dangerous because of the algorithms and the echo chambers and people needing be getting programmed by the programs that they watch and listen to. But it just goes to show how many men are looking for something, and they are looking for how can I be masculine? How can I express my masculinity? How can I not be a pushover? How can I make money so I feel powerful and successful? How can I find a pretty girlfriend or have a big car or whatever it is so I feel good enough and other people will respect me? And it's all external. I sometimes work with schools, especially boarding schools, and it's really interesting to hear how, and I've trained the boys to hold boys groups as well, how the boys themselves will say to the other boys, you're still in the Andrew Tate phase. And it really puts it in perspective. And in the old days, it might have been something like the pickup artists, the PUA phase. And, people have shown up after going through all of these phases. They've shown up to the men's groups or work with me privately. And they're still like, well, what's wrong with me? And how do I do me right? And for me, well, the answer is there is nothing wrong with you. Who are you? And how do you express who you are? Right. And again, this gets back into the letting go of who you no longer need to be and being the leftovers and letting the spirit show up again and remembering who you are and remembering the love, the adventure, the things that brought people alive before survival kicks in. So who are you? And the whole thing with purpose, I would say so many men have found a sense of purpose from their own story of what was not right for them that they could put right for other people. And there are many ways of finding purpose, and of course it's not as simple as that, but sometimes it really is.
Right.
Do men have needs? Well, there is a huge need, a huge difference between having needs and being needy. And I would say I have aced it with both. And I don't like the needy part of me. But then the needy part of me didn't feel like I was allowed to have needs. I could have needs. I mean, considering the childhood I've had and, the danger and the poverty and all of that, any needs were um, causing trouble. I remember as an 8-year old, I thought if I took my own life, then my family may have more of a chance of survival because they'd have one less mouth to feed. Um, so needs are something so little men know they're allowed to have. Um, my neediness was love, was safety, was to be part of, um, was to be, I think love's the bottom line, in whatever way it was. I was needy for love. It could be from my father or my mother. It could be from the other kids in school. It could be from being one of the boys, which wasn't easy, especially with the body dysmorphia and the obsessive compulsive and just being different. But before lockdown and before things started really going, I'm just going to carry on with the words. Before things really started going tits up, um, it when uh, men would cry because of their lack of when they were asked, "What are your needs?" more than anything. Things have changed now, but in the early days, and I'm talking, you know, as I say, I've been holding groups for over 25 years. Um, I'm talking the first 10 years or so, um, the awareness. that needs were normal, and the shock that these males had no idea that they were allowed to have needs, that they could have needs, that they can take ownership of their needs and their needs can be met. It really brought them to their knees and it brought them to tears. But do men have needs? Well, I would everyone has needs. And everyone has the right to safety. Everyone gets tired and hungry and needs to be special. And so it goes on. But will I allow my needs to own me? Well, I can take responsibility for them. I can take responsibility to get them met. And I can also share the responsibility. I guess from the way that my childhood used to be, um, I was just so used to taking care of people. Um, and it was a really shadow type need that I needed people to take care of, irrespective of whether it was male or female, because that's what I knew to do. And if I could take care of them, maybe emotionally, then they would take care of me, say, physically. Because with the obsessive compulsive disorder and stuff, I couldn't cook, I couldn't clean. There were a lot of things I couldn't do. So I recreated enmeshed codependent relationships. I was needed, and I created a situation unconsciously where I couldn't be chucked. I couldn't be rejected because I was needed. So I kind of got enmeshed with people and I entered the victim club. It can be said that the victim's always in control. I would say that's been very true for the people in my life. The victim, the martyr, and so it goes on. One of the rules of the victim club is that no one leaves the victim club, because if you leave the victim club, then you may as well be an abuser. And the victims don't like to be abandoned. Abandonment was one of the huge issues. So we were all enmeshed, we were all codependent, we were all surviving, we were all the good people. And this is where toxic femininity comes in. The good people are passive aggressive because that's nice. It's allowed. It's not aggressive. It's not confrontational. It's subtle. Nice people are passive, decent people are passive aggressive. I was just so good at toxic femininity. I was brought up with it. I was abandoning, and it could just be a little bit, just enough so I'm in control. Um, Critical, but very discreetly critical that it couldn't be noticed. But these are all ways, I would say, of the toxic femininity to maintain control, to threaten, not push away, draw people in. That was the way that I knew. So I needed to leave the victim club. And as a nice ex Catholic boy, that brought so much guilt, an outrageous amount of guilt. And with that, it's like, well, surely I don't need to be a bad guy. I don't want to be a bad guy. I want to be one of the good guys, but this isn't going anywhere. Not only is it not going anywhere, I love these people and I want them to have better lives. It's like I literally recreated my childhood. I want them to have better lives and I want to have a better life. But can I leave if they're not leaving? Shouldn't we all kind of fix it and leave together? Because then I'm not bad and no one's abandoning anyone. And I went round and round in circles with my own old overthinking addiction until I realized that the biggest gift that I could give the victim club would be to slowly and consciously and openly walk away and be totally available to anyone and everyone who also wants to walk away so we can walk beside each other on a path. And that was a very, very different way to look at it.
Mm.
So it was like breaking the spell on the victim club, but being there to go from fearful and in control into conscious and safely out of control. And I guess this is one of the things the men's groups have brought. This is where my inner protector and my call it spiritual guidance from my broken spirited child in the shadow turned into my free spirited child in the light. To have that guidance as well as the guidance of my protector one step of a time at a time is the way that I can calmly walk my path and look around at the new paradigm after every step. So, do
Hmm.
men have needs? For sure.
Oh yeah.
And there is everything right with the needs. And I remember in my early days of facilitating, walking that fine line off, and I really feared stealing people's lessons, stealing people's experience, stealing people's pathway by having answers, by over supporting rather than being with. It's like the their answers need to be earned by the individual, not given by anyone else, because then it belongs to the individual. So, yeah, by really
Great.
owning their pathway
Yeah.
step by step.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. You're such a deep man and your insights are so deep, Kenny. I really appreciate you doing this for our conference and, for everyone who will see this. And really, I just resonate with so much of what you're saying. I appreciate you. And I appreciate all of your wonderful sayings. I'm American, you're British. Like you guys have some great sayings. We are very plain in comparison to to you Brits. Uh, well, and I appreciate your story. And we're going to end this session. I want to ask you one question. Did you ever reunite with your father?
My father got smuggled to Italy, of all things.
Okay.
And we didn't see him for quite a few months, about 9 months. In the gap, we lived with some people, and it was worse than refugee camp. And in refugee camp, we had a lot of racist abuse as well, from other refugees for being Catholic, and my family's from Goa, but Portuguese background. So we had a horrible time in refugee camp. We had a horrible time between refugee camps. Then we went to my father's refugee camp. And then we chose to move to this small town, nice little town in Wales, which is the crossing to Ireland, wall to wall
So
Catholics.
so he got so he went to Italy and then he reunited with you up in Wales.
Yeah. And while he
Okay.
was in Italy, he did quite a weird thing actually, where there were different kind of, I'm not very good there are so many different types of Indians. And in those days, they were quite against each other, different religions, different cultures, different whatever. And there were issues with bad behavior in the refugee camps because of everyone's pain and grief and loss. And there were issues because the folks who ran the refugee camps started with crap quality food, rationed the cigarettes, things like that, and pocketed the money. So my father got a head from every different tribe, let's call them, using the common language of Swahili, which was the language that everyone could speak from our part of Africa, from East Africa. And between them, they got united, and he organized a hunger strike. All
Okay.
the men bent on hunger, and things got changed. It's like
Okay.
Papa the hero.
Amazing.
And he
Amazing.
was
Amazing.
so good looking.
Amazing
It's
story.
like, how do I compete with such a good looking hero? I gave up. Let
You
him be him and I'll be me.
you look great. Well, you are awesome. Thank you, Kenny. Really, thank you so much, and good luck in all of the work you're doing. Really, it's critical work you're doing. So bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for joining us for this and for Kenny. And onward we'll go. And I hope you and I meet in person one day, Kenny. Thanks so much.
I look forward to it. Cool. Take care.
All right.